Annyeonghaseyo to each and every one of you. In today's video, I wanted to show you how to make a taro coconut filled sesame ball recipe because my mom has been craving something with taro and she also loves sesame balls, so why not combine the two together to make this delicious snack for her. And after a few trials, this recipe became very delicious and super yummy that I wanted to share it with all of you so that you can make it yourself as well. Now, sesame balls are made and eaten all over Asia. It can range from different types of filling, from sweet to savory, but today I'm just going to show you the taro coconut filled version. It's very simple and easy to make as long as you have all the equipment and patience to do so. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, so let's get to it and I will show you how to make it. Let's go. Let's start with the taro coconut filling. Here I have a taro root that I bought from my local grocery store. You can also find taro root that are already peeled without the skin, but I prefer using the taro root that has the skin on because it's a lot fresher. We're going to peel off the skin. After you peel off the skin, give it a good rinse, and then we're going to chop it into bite-sized pieces. So cut off the ends here. And then just cut it into smaller chunks. So I only need 1.5 pounds of taro, so I'm going to measure it out and then just store the rest in the freezer or in the fridge for whenever I want to use it. We're going to place the taro into a steamer and we're going to let this cook for about 20 to 25 minutes or until it is nice and soft. Use a fork to check the tenderness. It should fall apart like this. We're going to place the cooked taro into a bowl while it's still hot. And then we're going to add in some sugar, salt, and mash it with a whisk. So I like the filling a little bit chunky, so I'm not going to make it that smooth. Then we're going to add in some coconut cream and mix this really well as well. And then the last thing we're going to add is some freshly grated or shredded coconut. And I bought this from my local grocery store. They usually have it in the freezer section, labeled like this. You can find them either shredded or grated, either or works. I just bought the shredded one and chopped it a lot finer so it's easier to roll and eat. We're going to add this into it and then just give it a really good mix until it is nicely incorporated. And this is it for the fillings. Pretty simple. Go ahead and taste it. If you want a little bit more sugar, add more, but my mom doesn't really like that sweet, so we're going to keep it like this. Since it's still pretty warm, I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap touching the filling and then place it into the fridge to allow it to cool. Once it's cooled, it'll be a lot easier to roll into individual sized ball. So I'm using a cookie scoop here and I'm just rolling it to about a tablespoon size ball. And this should look like this. So continue with the rest until all the filling are used up. I got a total of 35 individual taro coconut balls. Once it's done, set this aside and then let's make the dough. So to make the dough, I have a bowl here and I'm going to add in some mashed potato flakes here. And this is about 1/2 cup of mashed potato flakes. If you don't have this, you can also use fresh rustic potato. Just boil it until it's nice and soft and then mash it. I'm going to add in the flakes into a bowl and I'm going to add in about 1/2 cup of hot boiling water just to fluff up and revive the potato flakes as well. If you're going to use fresh rustic potato, don't add in the 1/2 cup of hot water. So once the potato flakes are nice and revived and hydrated, we're going to add in some sugar and some warm water. Mix that really well. And we're gonna add in some glutinous rice flour. And this is the bag that I'm using. I'm using a whole bag, so it's 16 ounces of glutinous rice flour. Place it into the bowl. And I'm also going to use some rice flour, and I'm only going to use about a cup of rice flour and some salt and baking powder. I have some gloves on, and I'm going to mix this with my hands. It's just a lot easier. Mix it until you get a nice pliable dough. And it should look like this. So to test if the dough has a nice consistency, I usually just take a little ball and roll it on my hand, flatten it, and if it doesn't stick or break on the edges, it is good to go. Now since I have about 35 taro coconut filling, I'm going to weigh out the dough to equal 35 portions. And for each of the dough, I weighed it to about 1.3 ounces per ball. So we're done with the filling, and the dough is also made. At this point, we're just gonna fill it, wrap it, and coat it in some sesame seeds. So I'm gonna pour in some sesame seeds into a bowl. Make sure you use raw, untoasted sesame seeds. And if you want, you can also do a little bit of white sesame seeds with some black sesame seeds to give it some nice color and flavor. So to fill this, go ahead and grab one of the dough, and we're going to flatten this out like this, and then place one of the filling in the center, and then make your way around the filling until it is nice and covered and sealed with the dough. And there shouldn't be any openings, it should be nice and completely sealed. And then once it's nice and sealed, just use the palm of your hand to smooth it out. Once that's done, drop it into the sesame seeds and coat it really well. Once it's nice and coated, use the palm of your hand to make sure the sesame seeds are nicely pressed onto the dough. And it should look like this. And continue with the rest. So all the sesame balls are nicely filled and coated. We are ready to fry. So to fry this, I have a pot of vegetable oil here. It should be enough to allow the sesame balls to be completely submerged in the oil. And I'm heating the oil up to at least 325 degrees. I would not go any higher than 350, or else the sesame balls will burn really quick and not cooked in the center. Carefully place the sesame balls into the oil, and it should just have a really nice subtle sizzle to it. High heat oil will also cause the sesame balls to explode as well when it's cooking, and also burn before it's actually cooked in the center. Give it a really nice stir just so that the sesame balls don't stick on the bottom. And allow this to slowly cook for at least 10 minutes. Turn it every once in a while to evenly cook it. After 10 minutes of cooking, the sesame balls are ready. And this is what they look like. Woo-hoo! Transfer it into a colander to allow it to drain and cool. And I'm going to continue frying the rest. We're going to allow this to cool for at least 5 minutes before you can enjoy it, because it is nice and hot in the center, so be careful when you're eating it. plate it however you like and then enjoy it while it's still nice and crispy.